Hello travelers, and welcome to a new video. Still in Warsaw, Poland. I am out in front of the National Museum. It is the Museum Narodowe. Quite a large museum. They're flying the Polish flag and the Ukrainian flag over there, but I just want to show you these beautiful spring flowers are popping up. So what a beautiful time to be in Warsaw. Over in the corner here, there's supposed to be a museum or outdoor museum, and it houses a lot of equipment from World War II. So it's supposed to have tanks and planes. So I want to go in here and we could take a look at this and see some of the equipment or the military equipment used in World War II. So it's a museum, Wojciech Polskiego. You can just walk in here. It's absolutely free. I don't know if it's free every day. And right away we're seeing a large tank. So this is quite interesting if you have interest in military or World War II. So it says it's an IS-2 heavy tank. Production of the IS Joseph Stalin IS started in 1943, and the tanks of this type served in the Soviet Army in fighting large tanks and motorized guns, assisted the medium tanks in the assaults, and worked in conjunction with the infantry in destroying well-fortified opponents. A total of more than 3,850 units were produced. The IS-2 tanks served in the 4th and 5th Heavy Tank Regiments, assigned to the 1st and 2nd Armies of General Berling's forces, and fought with them during battles in the waning months of World War II. The 1st Polish Army in the USSR received 71 tanks of this type during the period October 1944 through April 1945. After the war, the IS-2 tanks remained in service through the end of the 1950s. The model and exhibit served during World War II in the 4th Heavy Tank Regiment of the 1st Polish Army. That is absolutely fascinating. Look at this. This actually served in World War II in the Polish Army. A perfect killing machine. That's what they were designed for. To pillage, to damage, to destroy. And unfortunately, we are at it again. Man does not learn from their mistakes. So we have a plane here. You can see there's some age on this. This is a MiG29 PF fighter fish bed. How about that, a MiG-21? The MiGs were made famous in the movie Top Gun, the original. The MiG-21 series of fighter aircraft was built in the USSR during the 1950s. These are lightweight interceptor fighters designed for air battle on short and middling distances, also able to fight in difficult atmospheric conditions. Various versions of the MiG-21 were introduced into service in the Polish Air Force beginning with 1966 and remained the basic fighter planes in Poland through the 1980s. The following models in total were purchased from the USSR during this period. Very famous from the Top Gun movies. Top Gun, actually, Maverick, he actually had to engage with MiGs. So that is what they actually look like. And they were purchased by the Polish Army from the USSR during that time. Mikoyan MiG-29 fighter. This is a Soviet fighter plane employing duralloy semi-shell construction. Its first experimental flight occurred in 1978 and entered mass production in 1984 when introduced to the Polish Air Force. It was expected to replace the MiG-21. However, financial considerations and later political changes made the purchase of these planes impractical. The initial shipment from the USSR arrived in 1989, and ultimately a total of 12 machines were delivered between July and October of 1989. So a much larger plane, probably much deadlier. Very interesting to see them side by side. There's a platform, I guess it's closed off. Maybe certain days you can go up and see the cabin. It's quite amazing how these are just out in the open. And you can just go here and look at them. You don't have to pay anything. Here's the Museum Wojciecha Polskiego. So I think you have to pay to go in here. Maybe there's more information about the war. I love how they add the information about each plane. It's quite fascinating. This plane here is the TS-11 Iskra training aircraft. The TS-11 was also designed at the Warsaw Institute of Aviation by a construction team led by Dr. Tadeusz Soitica and was designed for basic and advanced training of pilots in jet fighters. In February of 1960, the first test flights of the TS-11 took place, and in 1964, the WSK Miłek factory produced the first allotment of planes for the Polish Air Forces. The plane proved to be a continuing source of interest for foreign military specialists, and in 1975, a contract was signed for delivery of 50 Iskra planes to India. Mass production of the TS-11 continued unabated until 1987, and a total of 424 planes were produced in various versions and models. The exhibit on display and numbered 101 was the first model of the first series to be mass produced. It's a two-seater. How about that? It trained the fighter pilots. Quite interesting plane there. It's decked out in the camouflage colors. Guys, this is absolutely fascinating. If you like World War II history, you should be fascinated with this museum. You got to give it to the Polish. This is absolutely fantastic. This looks like definitely a passenger jet. It's got the Polish eagle on the side. This is all in Polish, so it is the Yakovlev Yak 40 passenger airplane. Not very big, but it does the job. We've got some more artillery here to look at. This is also in Polish, so you can see what they used in World War II. This one here says it is the model 1897 75mm burst field cannon barrel. This would fire the heavy artillery. This was 280mm siege mortar, model 1914 barrel and transport chassis. So meant to be transported on the battlefield. We have another large plane here. This is absolutely fabulous. Looks like you can go up to this one, climb up there, almost climb in the cockpit like Maverick. This is an AN-26 transport aircraft, an air transport machine with dual semi-coque structure used for the supply flights, humanist mission, parachute drops, and passenger transport. The machine is an advanced version of the passenger AN-24 model. The military model prototype made its first flight in 1969. In 1972, 12 such machines were purchased for the 13th Air Transport Regiment in Krakow. An AN-26 aircrafts were withdrew from the service in 2008 and replaced with the CASA C-295 aircrafts. A military transport plane behind me. Wow, this just continues. It just keeps going. What do we have here? This is the I-22 Irida training aircraft. The I-22 was also designed in the Institute of Aviation as an advanced training aircraft for military jet fighter pilots. That is a very interesting design there. Got the short wings on this one. Also, you got the dual wings. Yeah, this place is definitely worth visiting here in Warsaw if you get a chance. We've got a decommissioned, is that the missile or is that, this looks like the gas tank, I guess. Or what a missile would look like. I think that's actually what a rocket would look like. Or a bomb, I should say a bomb. Decommissioned bomb. This one looks like it has seen some better days. This is the supersonic fighter bomber, Sukhoi Su-22M4. The Soviet-produced fighter bomber was a successor plane to the Su-17 and was developed in the Sukhoi OKB, named after Pavel Osipovich Sukhoi. So this served in a lot of battles actually, and there's more to see. We've got more tanks over here too. I'm gonna have to save some battery, guys. I'm already a bit low. This is absolutely fascinating. We have a helicopter here. This one is in Polish also. Śmigłowiec Sister Movi Mi-24D helicopter. Guys spraying for vermin here, and this would have taken out the vermin. So some more helicopters. They have everything in this museum. It's quite fascinating. This is a smaller one, multifunctional helicopter Mi-2P. And this one says the Mi-29 lightweight multifunctional helicopters originally were built in the USSR, but in the mid-1960s were produced on a licensing agreement by the WSK Svidnik plant. So obviously a lot of these aircraft come from the time when Poland was occupied, under communist rule. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to go over the specs of all these aircraft because I'm running a little bit low on battery here. I want to finish up the tour here. Look at this, anti-aircraft. So it's all in Polish. Definitely looks like anti-aircraft missile. Wow. That could take a bird out of the sky quickly. What is this? Like a single man turret. So on a ship, this was taken off a ship. Oh, so this one's actually on a military vehicle. They put it on there. Wow. That is a big rocket. Zestav Rakietowy 9K72 Elbrus, also in Polish. Some things in Polish and some things in both languages, in English as well. What is this one? This looks like a smaller plane. It almost looks like a Mustang. Yak-9P fighter. The Yak-9 Soviet fighter planes of versions D, M, and T created the heavy arms nucleus in the 4 Polish Air Force regiments fighting on the Eastern Front in the spring of 1945. The Yak-9P was the final serial version of the Yak family of fighter aircraft, which was still powered by a piston engine. Look at that. This is quite a museum, and it's absolutely free. What do we have here? Contact mine. The galvanic self-anchoring contact mine designed to destroy medium and light draft surface and underwater boats. It was a Polish redesigned and modernized version of the Russian Model 8 mine. So those are what blows up a submarine a lot of times also. The mines, underwater mines. A large exhibit, you can see it. And it is quite fascinating. This is a Bofors M1930 152mm shore cannon. There were some more tanks over here. Let's walk down and see the tanks. Here's a mini tank. How about that? A small one. It's covered up. This is the motorized Panzer 38T Hetzer. This vehicle was developed in 1943 in the BMM plant in Prague at the behest of the Wehrmacht Command, who was there. That mass production started in April of 1944. By July of that year, the gun was also produced in Skoda plants. The result was that by war's end, a total of 2,584 guns were produced. These tank destroyers continued to be produced in Czechoslovakia after the end of the hostilities. The Hetzer was called the ST-1 in the Czechoslovak army. In the version which was sold to the Swiss army, it was named the G13. One Hetzer was captured on August 2nd, 1944 during the Warsaw Uprising by insurgent fighters of the Kalinsky Battalion of the Armia Krajova, working together with the defense unit of the military printing house. I think this is the one they're talking about here. So it was captured. And we have some warheads here. All in Polish. The 60-centimeter concrete piercing shell was shot from the German mortar, which had been named ZU. A total of 6 Karl guns had been produced, and 4 were assigned to the 833rd Heavy Artillery Battalion, Schwere Artillerie Abteilung, in named pairs: Adam and Eva, first bat, and Thor and Odin's second batch, I guess. The last 2 were named Loki and Ziu, and which had been assigned to the 638th Heavy Artillery Troop of the Wehrmacht. So I'm not sure what the Wehrmacht is, but it definitely sounds German. Wehrmacht. Probably something to do with Nazis, I would guess. So some more tanks over here. We're gonna see these and then we're gonna wrap up the video. T-55U medium tank. Poland had purchased a licensing agreement from the USSR in 1956, and it was then that mass production of the T-54A began. During the license period, a number of modifications were introduced which improved the vehicle's operation. PT-76 amphibious reconnaissance tank. So this one can go in the water. The tank was used by reconnaissance units of the armored and mechanized forces of the Soviet Army. In the mid-1950s, these tanks were purchased for use in the Army of the People's Republic of Poland. In Poland, they were somewhat modified in that a heavy machine gun, the 12.7mm DSHK, was mounted on the turret. The PT-76 tank was used by various units, including the 7th Lusatian Seaborne Assault Division, referred to as the Blue Berets. It was withdrawn from service in the Polish Army in the mid-1990s. This is a medium tank T-34 85mm gun. This is a 122mm motorized howitzer 2S1 Godzik. The 2S1 howitzer Carnation was introduced into service in the Polish Army of the People's Republic of Poland in the 1970s. It continues in service as a standard gun in artillery units, modified to accept high explosive fragmentation. Shells weighing 21.76 kilograms. High explosive anti-tank heat shells weighing 18.2 kilograms, as well as illuminating and smoke shells. The 2S1 howitzer is designed primarily for a medium fire role in destroying sources of enemy fire, commanding positions, field fortifications, etc., as well as direct fire on armored positions. This is the motorized howitzer SU 76mm. This one looks in very good condition. This is the Topaz 2AP tracked armored personnel carrier. The Topaz APC was produced in Czechoslovakia and brought into service in the armed forces of the People's Republic of Poland in the early 1960s. These vehicles were amphibious and were used by the 7th Lusatian Seaborne Assault Division, referred to as the Blue Berets. So these Blue Berets were some bad, you know what. This is the SKOT 2A wheeled armored personnel carrier. And we have some more tanks over here. Wow, this is definitely the area with the tanks. Let's see what this one is. It's a double turret, or a double gun turret, I should say. Double barrel turret. ZSU 57-2 self-propelled anti-aircraft cannon. This vehicle was designed by the USSR in the early 1950s. The structural elements of the T-54 tank were utilized. Thus, the tank hull was surmounted with a revolving turret armored with two 57mm S-68 guns, using a mechanical computing sight with an optical reflex for improved sighting capability. This vehicle was designed to counter subsonic combat aircraft flying no higher than 4,000 meters. To take down a subsonic aircraft, that is pretty impressive. I think I'm going to wrap up the video here. I hope you enjoyed it. This is definitely history about World War II and military machinery. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one. Travel Addict Guy. Take care, everyone.